Hello, welcome to another episode of Exploring You, our podcast to guide you through the personal development jungle that it is. Today's guest is Stephanie Lai, and she brings to us a different mindset in the difference between the East and the West. Stephanie also talks NLP and her training and her past experiences. Some are quite personal, to say the least. Have a listen, have a watch, like, share, and comment. It'd be good to hear from you. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Exploring You. I'm Darren Siegenberg. I'm founder of the Mind Course, CIC, and Elysium NLP.
And I'm Alexandra Katzer, nature coach and forest bathing guide.
And today's special guest, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly, Stephanie Lai.
Yes, that's correct.
Yay!
I am a stickler for names. I'm a stickler for names. I've got to get them right all the time. So
That's the easy version.
that's the oh gosh, I dare to. I'm not going to go any further. I'll get myself into trouble. So Stephanie, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on, and it's really nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Stephanie, so first and foremost, who are you?
I certify NLP practitioners and NLP coaches as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do personal coaching as well. So I've learned neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm also a hypnotherapist, and I'm also a timeline therapist. And I've also learned from this fantastic man called Dr. John DeMartini. The breakthrough journey was just fantastic. So, and my latest one in UK is, I enrolled myself in Cheshire College and got myself a level 2 certification for mental health for young children and young people. I don't know, and anything and everything to do with mental, I think. I just love it. It's my passion.
It's brilliant. I mean, and that's why we know each other anyway, isn't it? We've done the same NLP training, and you've gone out there and trained people to be coaches as well. How do you find that? Well, especially, I mean, I'm guessing you just did that in Malaysia and not in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to see different styles of people and different countries and their cultures and how they adapt to various things. I mean, it's interesting because we were talking before the start of the show, the difference in Malaysian mentality as opposed to UK mentality when it comes to mental health.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that again?
I mean, I'm really sorry, but I start comparing when I'm here, and I was very curious. That's the reason why I enrolled myself in a course, because I was so curious. Why are there so many people here with mental health problems? What is the root cause of all these? Because I get very, very curious, and I have to know. We don't hear about all these things in Malaysia. So and I found out that the resilience of the people here is not as high as in Malaysia, because I do not know why. And I think if I compare it with countries like in Thailand, people are very resilient as well, in Indonesia as well. So why are the people in the West not as resilient as people in Asia? Is it because, I was joking about it the other day, it's a first world problem? Because in the third world, Malaysia is in the third world, we don't have as many benefits, we don't have opportunities as much as here. So we have to be strong. We have to go and get it done. Whatever it is, whatever challenges, there's always going to be challenges, but we just focus on, okay, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. What we want, we go forward and go get it. What we don't want, we just throw it out of the windows. Like that. I mean, for example, can I share an example?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Of my mom. She's 80. 82. I
Oh, you remember?
like
Oh, you
too
remember
many
a birthday.
candles.
Oh,
Too many candles. She's 82. I remember she came from a place a place in her life when she married my dad. Both of them were very poor. They didn't have anything, you know. But in her mind, it's like, I'm not going to stay in this state of mind. I'm not going to stay in this life that I want. What I want, this is what she told me. What am I, her, and the way she envisioned forward, and she was only what, 22, 23, right? And she said, I don't want my kids to take care of me when I'm old. So I'm going to accumulate all this wealth in however way that I will do. I'll be hardworking. And then so that my kids don't need to take care of me because they might have their own financial challenges as they grow up. And she's done that. And she's done just that.
I can relate to what you say, that in different cultures there is more resilience. I've lived in Africa, like in Southern Africa and also in East Africa for several years. And I also find that people, when they have an idea how to generate income, they just go for it.
Right.
They are not sitting back analyzing or evaluating risks or dangers or, but first I need to draw up a business plan, and they just go for it. And I think you're right. In our culture, there is so much cushioning from all sides that we don't feel this drive to just go for it and grab what we want to get.
Right, because she's 82. I have two brothers and me, three of us, right? We've never taken care of our mom financially in any way. So it's like, if there is a challenge, she'll find a way to get over it. If there's another challenge, she'll find a way to get over it. It's always like, I'm moving forward all the time. And she had 3 jobs. So she worked in a bank as a clerk in the daytime. When she was home in the evening, she started baking and she sell cakes and the biscuits. And on weekends, she'll be working at the races, selling tickets 7 days a week. That's how she make her money. It's not like she's superly educated. She didn't even get a chance to go to university. She finished school at 15, so I mean, that's something that is very inspiring, because both my parents' background is so inspiring that they, my dad, can I share my dad now? I'm just trying to figure out how we get,
your dad, your brothers, your friends.
Not my brothers,
I don't
because
mind.
my siblings and I, we are very fortunate, because like my dad, he was, okay, how do you put it, a street kid, right? Because
a disciplinarian.
Street kid, I mean, like literally living on the street.
My apologies.
Yeah, street kid. So it was so bad that he will go to the market. He will go to the market and he will, pick up cigarettes butts. Those days you have rolled cigarette butts, he will unroll them, take out tobacco and re-roll them into fresh cigarettes and sell the cigarettes to make a few pennies for his survival at 6 years old. And he will take, who's going to take care of him? So he was sitting down, and my dad never talked about his life, because it's always forward. What's the point of talking about history? And all these stories I heard from my great aunt, his auntie, So he was sitting by the road side with her one day, and my great aunt, bless her, she was a single mom, and she was very poor as well, and she lived in the church ground, worked in the church to bring up her 2 children, So at that point of time in the 1940s, so my dad sat down and he saw many children going into a building, and he asked his aunt, and say, why are the kids running into the building? And she told him that's a school. He had no concept of what a school was because he was living on the streets. And then my great aunt said he just thought for a few days. And he said, oh, I want to go to school. And my aunt said, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't afford you. I have my 2 children to take care. I'm really sorry, you know, I just can't. And my dad decided he was not going to have the life that he had before. And he worked for 3 years. At 9 years old, with his savings, he walked into the school because there was no free school last time in Malaysia, and said, can I go to school and study? And the headmaster told him no. He said, you cannot afford to pay the fees. And my dad was very smart and was like, can I work for you in exchange for classes? That's why my dad learned how to read and write at a very late age. He learned English at 17 from my mom. My mom was his tutor. That's how they met.
Wow.
Yeah. And later on he became an engineer. So
that is inspiring.
Yeah, so he went like, can I work in the school? Can I keep the school clean? I sweep the floors, clean the desk in exchange for lessons. And can I also sleep? Can you give me a bed? His bed was under a desk. So he was only able to put himself in school for about 3-4 years. Then he was working odd jobs, you know, just he just can't. It gets more expensive, you know. And but he always loved to read. So he's always reading because in his mind, I don't want this life. I want to be, if I had kids, I don't want them to live a life like that. And he keep on going forward and forward and forward. And my mom, on that point of time, they have not met, but she also has this same level of like, oh, it's after World War II, it's tough, I have to keep on moving forward, I have to keep on accumulating money because if I have a family, I don't want them to take care of me. And that's what I call resilience. Sometimes when there is lack and scarcity, you tend to be very creative. You tend to just move forward because there are people who won't want to move forward, of course. But I think the generation that my dad they actually did very well. A lot of them are really very rich in Malaysia. They're very resilient. So he worked very hard. He worked in the kitchen. He worked as a blacksmith. He worked several jobs, you know, and then finally he found a job as a technician, sort of like a learner technician, just to learn the skills, right? And he worked very hard. And one thing my dad said, do not be fussy or complain about too much work. Whatever your boss gives you, just go do it. And I'm like, right. I'm only paid for 8 hours, you know, 40 hours a week. But because he was so hardworking and he was so determined to learn, the company actually decided, we want to give you a promotion, but you don't have enough education, so we're going to pay for your education. That's how he got his education, and they sent him to Australia to get his degree in computer engineering. He was the first computer engineer in Malaysia ever. Wow. Yeah, because there were not any back then. And he's also an electrical engineer and an electronics engineer. I'm like, oh my God. So when I was in school, my ambition was to become an engineer, which I never became. So yeah, it was that. And it was like my mom's mother, grandma, was a very rich woman in Ipoh, my hometown. My grandma has never worked a day in her life, never. We always wonder, where does she get all her money from? You know, she lived day to day, no problem, but every day she would go to the casino. So I think I worked it out. She must be a professional poker player or something. A lot of money, but she's never worked a day. She's just having fun in the casino every day, you know. So those were the days. And so my dad was dating my mom. There's another obstacles, and then my grandma said, if you want to marry my mom, my daughter, you have to give me 10,000. Okay, let's say 10,000 pounds, but it's dollars back then, right? Didn't have that. Was 10,000 was maybe equivalent to 100,000 now.
Wow.
Right? The money is 1963 or something. And my dad told her, okay, give me 12 months. I'll bring the money back to you and give it to you, and I will marry your daughter. And he did just that.
Wow.
Yeah, he did
How
that.
many daughters did she have? Maybe that's how she made the money as well.
I don't know. She said 10,000, and my dad gave her 10,000 and married my mom. And my grandma told me this. She said, "Damn, all I asked was 10,000. He gave me 10. I could have asked for 20 then." My grandma would tell me lots of stories, you know. And they started off giving her the money, and my grandma will really take the money. And they started off with nothing. They had a bicycle, and they rented a room. They couldn't even rent a house. They can only afford to rent a room. And from then, my dad was like, okay, whatever obstacle, focus on the goal in the end in mind. I mean, over here, Stephen Covey, everybody is saying, have the goal, the end, with the end in mind. But I think a lot of people don't get it. It's like they give up halfway. It took my parents so long to buy a scooter, and then a car, and then a house, you know. And then eventually we had a family home, which is sold now. I mean, our family home eventually was so big. It was 7,000 square feet. Gosh, each one of us kids, we have a room with a TV. Each room has a TV and a study, you know. So it was a life that my parents decided our kids are not going to suffer because we suffered.
You mentioned that you did a training course for working with children and young adults. So I'm just wondering, do you see a difference between the upbringing of children in Malaysia compared to the UK?
There is a lot of difference. It's like here, children have it very easy, right? In Malaysia, the children have no time, even in Singapore or in Japan or in Asia, everywhere that I went to, because I did go for a study trip to Japan to look at the children. Why Japanese are very resilient, and they're like the Germans, very organized, very polite, super polite, you know, super clean, everything. So I was very curious. I went to Japan and studied them. So they we as a child, or even with my children, we have school time, right? And then we have homework time. Over here, children study, I don't know, 5 subjects in secondary. Is that mathematics, English, 4, 5?
Well, they have their like something like, I mean, they have the English and maths, and then you've got to, when the higher grade, when they're like the 4th, 5th year, as I call it, or year 10 and 11 as it's known now, they have a number of options they can take, which I think is anything between 4 and 5 options on top of the English and maths.
Yeah. So guess how many subjects my daughter studied in secondary school? Take a wild guess.
10.
14.
So in Malaysia, as in high school, you're studying 14 different subjects. Wow.
14. So you have so year 7, right? Year 7, you're 13. Year 7, right? So year 7, they start physics, biology. chemistry, mathematics, 2 mathematics, right? English, we have Malay, we have Chinese, 3 languages, okay? And we have geography, history, ethics, etiquette. They have like 14 altogether. And you have to pass all 14 in your Form 5 before you can go to university. So when they come back from school, it's like they spend about 2-3 hours doing their homework. And school finishes about morning. They start about 7:30. They finish about 1:30. And then they have their lunch. They do their homework. And then when they come home, either they are enrolled into sports or music or whatever extracurricular, and they're not home until about 8 or 9. Watch a bit of TV and go to bed. So it's all packed. There is no time for them to go and experiment, smoking or whatever it is. There is none. It's all activities that is packed. So my daughter will finish her school, finish her homework, go for her basketball, go for music lessons or whatever it is, and then she's home. When they're home, they're like, you know. So into the West, how we bring up our children is abuse. Because, they have no time for themselves. No, they have all the time when they grow up. That's our mindset. They have all the time when you grow up. And then if we complain as a young person, if we find a job, we say, I have so much work to do. I don't have my time for myself. It's work-life balance. You know, we now people are talking about it because it's coming from the West and people are buying into this work-life balance. My mom will tell me, you have all the time in the world when you retire at 55.
Yeah, we tend to be more working at 55 in the UK than anything else, I think.
Yes, yeah, I know. I'm looking for a job at 58. I'm totally bored, actually. I don't think I can retire. Yeah.
I don't think any of us will be able to retire.
So I find that over here, the children are, how would I say? They have too much free time. And because of that, I think they get themselves, especially with social media, when they have too much free time, they start scrolling, trawling the social media. They read all sorts of stuff, and that affects their mental health as well. Yeah.
I think we also have too much choice.
Yeah, I think so too. We are not given a choice as kids. I mean, many parents, Asian parents as well, we don't give kids choices. Do as I say, that's it. And even in school, because to them it's like you're not mature enough to make the right choices yet. So you just do as I say. If next time when you're older, when you're 21, then you can not do what I say and see what you get. And usually they will face the consequences because the parents will say, I told you so. We always love to say that.
I don't get angry, but I kind of look at it when someone says, the kids these days have got too many choices. I kind of go, you've got so many choices. How can you not make a choice? When we were younger, we didn't have as many choices. So we had to do what we had to do. So, how can have too many choices become an issue? I still can't get my head around it, but I get where you're coming from.
Because children, if you look at their value system, they're developing values in themselves. They don't really have real values. Nobody is born with values, right? Values and beliefs are programmed. Are programmed by the environment, by the people around them, right? So if they do not have a solid belief system and values, and you ask them to make a choice, they can't, because they don't have a decision-making strategy yet, a proper decision-making strategy. They will just, it's like a pinball. You just press the button, let the ball fly and see what happens. If it's right, it's right. If it's not, it's not. But most of the time it's not. I find most of the time the kids don't make the right choices. They get themselves into trouble in somewhat of, and then people will not talk about it and say, oh, I'm so sorry that's what happened. Asian parents will never say, I'm so sorry that happened to you. We will say, serves you right. Because my daughter, she works in NHS in London. She said, I know it when this is a genuine, authentic Asian parents, because if the kid came in with a broken leg, the mother will be scolding the kid, and then it will say, serves you right. I told you not to do that, and you don't never follow my instruction, blah, 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 blah. She said, that's very authentic Asian. Not an Asian who's been born in UK, because the Asian will, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and they forget about it. And we are made to feel very guilty about our decisions in Asia.
I wonder why. So what? Yeah, obviously you've done your NLP.
Yeah.
I mean, what brought you to do that?
Okay.
And those that don't know NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
It's very interesting. All my life, I've heard about NLP. No, not all my life. I think I've heard about NLP in the 90s. I think that was when it was first conceived, really gone international. And I hated it. What nonsense is this?
Hated it.
Hated it. What nonsense is this? Until I really had a mental state breakdown. And I remember that I had a lot of stress at work. I actually worked in a personal development company. And I was actually very good at it, because we put in trainings and people will come into the trainings, and I was in charge of getting people in the trainings, right? And my target for that is 1,500 participants in 1 year, in that year. And I was shocked. I got 1,498. Can you imagine when you have a KPI 1,500 and you're just two? Being Asian, right? Being Asian, my boss said, Stephanie, this is when you should take a gun and shoot yourself in the head. No, Asians don't like, oh, well done. You just shot this so close to the target. No, you must hit the target and exceed. That's Asian mindset.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, but because of that, we're like, okay, we'll do better next time. And and that drives us to think like that. We'll do better next time, because what we want is someone to say, you did all right. But we'll never get that in Asia. I get it here all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm bored already. Can someone tell me I didn't do good enough so that I can move forward? So when I was like beating myself up, and it's like, oh, it's so close, it's just two, because my mind is being trained to like, I should hit and exceed, and I'm just short of two. That's almost not acceptable. And I remember that day I was driving to work, and I just cried for no reason. I just cried and cried and cried. And I called my GP, crying, sobbing on the phone. I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. I can't stop crying. And I just feel like I don't want to go to work. It's like I don't want to go to school, that kind of feeling. Then my GP said, I think you got to see a psychiatrist. So on the phone, he referred me to a psychiatrist. Immediately, I drove to the psychiatrist. I can tell you this, I've lost faith in psychiatrists. Okay, any psychiatrists listening to this, I'm so sorry. It's not meant to be you, okay? But within 5 minutes in the chair, no question, no nothing. He said, what's wrong? I said, just told him I can't stop crying. And he just kept on typing, didn't even look at me, didn't even check or anything. And he said, oh, there's something wrong with your brain. I'm going to give you some medication. 5 minutes. And you know what's appalling is like in the clinic, there are like 10 kids waiting to see him. Children, like 12 years old, 13 years old, or maybe even younger. So I was like, wow, is this how they do it? They just give you medication? But I took the medication because I needed to stop crying, which I did. It was very funny because I was on Prozac, I was on, all those antidepressant medication. I noticed something, my hair started dropping. And he said, oh, you got to continuously take this. And I lost weight. And what was funny is, if someone died in front of me, I would have no emotions. Because it totally numb or stop some kind of chemicals. When you're feeling happy, you have some happy juice running in your brain, right? All right. When you're feeling sad, you have a different kind of chemical running in your brain because it's all chemicals inside your brain. But none. Why? Because someone was telling me about something bad that I can't remember what it was, but it was something bad in life. A normal human being will feel empathy and feel for the person. I felt nothing. Totally nothing. So this was 2003 and I was on 11 weeks of the medication already. That's a long time. And then I was in Las Vegas taking a coaching certification for business coaching. And this coach, Nick, he saw me. I think he said, are you taking drugs? Or, your eyes, you can see if a person is taking on drugs. I said, no, I'm taking some medication. And I showed him all the medication. And he said, you got to stop taking this. I said, no, I'm not feeling, no. He said, just stop it, And he put me on a process that pulled me aside, put me on process. And within 30 minutes, I just snapped out of it. I was like, it's like you just woke up from a dream. And guess what was the process? What do you want? So it was blind writing. So just ask myself, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Keep on writing. It could be, I want a duck, I want a coat, I want whatever that comes to my mind. Write it down for 30 minutes, right? Non-stop. It's called blind writing. And I just kept on doing it, and it's just sort of rewired everything, and I never needed medication since then. And that was 2003. 2004, sorry, 2004. How many years is that? That's too long already. 18 years, yeah. 19, never needed anything anymore. Yeah. So, and I asked Nick, what was it that he used? It's an NLP method as well. It's just creating a new strategy in your brain. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Never did anything about it. I just said, okay, that's interesting. I'm okay. I don't need medication. It was not only until 2010 that I decided to do NLP training. I've actually certified twice because I did it from 2 different trainers, one from Singapore, one from UK, which is Bruce. And I think Bruce is really awesome. I learned a lot from him. That's why I brought him to Malaysia for every one of my training, because I really want to train it correctly. I know in Malaysia, people don't do the NLP training correctly. No, that's why people don't have breakthrough. It's just like another course, So, so when you don't do, everyone in Malaysia is a coach. Seriously. I don't know why people just call themselves a coach. They even put it as a title, Coach Stephanie, like that. I'm like, Why do you do that? Everyone in Malaysia, it's a big thing in Malaysia. It's like a status. But people are not doing it properly. That's how I discovered from Bruce. And people are getting certification, like photocopying certificates. Seriously. I'm serious. I have to go to Las Vegas and literally bleed to death to get my coaching certificate. Seriously. Okay, okay, this is ridiculous. For 1 month, I was there every morning at 6 a.m. I have to play volleyball. And every morning I get shouted at by this group of Australians. Okay. And he said, "Oh, you're not going 100%. Until one day I really got what 100% meant, right? When I dived for the ball, fell on the sand, cut myself, bleed to death, almost bled to death. That's just being melodramatic about it. So yeah, and I realized that, yeah, I was a coachee. How many coaches actually go 100% towards what they want? Do they really, like Bruce once said, the people who wants your coaching got to beg you to be their coach. They got to kneel down on broken glass. If they're willing to kneel down on broken glass, then you can coach them. Otherwise, don't do it. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. So I came back and I look at my life. I didn't like what I see in my life. I wasn't a nice person. Totally didn't like what I saw. Went through a lot of things. And I decided to change myself. And I did in 2017, I really did big change. I asked Bruce to do a breakthrough with me. I say, these are the things, these are the values I want to change. These are my beliefs that I want to change. So I'm really not, I can tell you, I'm not myself. I know what I did in my younger days, I've gone through many types of things, but I think NLP is the one that really made the change for me. Funny thing is, I had a learning center for children. They come in. Funny thing is, I was a maths teacher as well. So I taught mathematics, and they will come into my center, as an extracurricular classes. And they will come to me, "Teacher Stephanie, you look very different." But it's not my looks. It's the way that I was being that was different. And that was the most authentic feedback I get. And I was very happy. But I still, how to say, I still do go through my journey. I never stop. Things, things that I don't like, I just never stop. I'll change it. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it when we've got an issue, it's about looking for the solution rather than the problem.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, people, okay, in Asia, we don't have time to focus on the problem. It's a third world country. It's all about survival. The context is survival. If you don't work hard, if you don't move forward, you're not going to survive. You're not. You're going to be at the bottom. And in Malaysia, it's pretty racist. I'm going to say that. I'm not afraid to say it, because I'm not Muslim. I'm Chinese background, ethnicity, right? I'm Chinese, and there is the Malays, which is about 75% of the population. So we don't get the benefits of them. We don't have the free schooling like them. We have to pay for our university. We have to pay for our school if we want a good school. We have to pay 7% more when we buy a property. We have to pay taxes. They don't. Yeah. So I'm coming from a context where there is a group of people, the majority of the population in Malaysia, They're nice people, but that's how the government made it since the British gave the country back to us.
Down British. That was down British, I tell you. Get everywhere.
No,
Cause all kinds of problems.
it's a joke. No, since but that was how the government was set up. And we have no way out of it. We have no way, but because you can't take away things and say, oh, we're going to be fair to everyone. There's no democracy in Malaysia, even though they say it's a democratic country, it's not. So we sometimes, what I say, that why are the rest of the people complaining about it? Because what we don't have, we become more resilient. We work harder, and in the end we get more, because we call that Malays, right? We support the entire economy of Malaysia because we are the one who earn enough to pay the taxes. Malaysian economy is supported by taxes. So sometimes I think there is a balance. If we had a lot of things, a lot of benefits, our decision making will become very sloppy. Because you know what? If we make a wrong decision, doesn't matter. Something will come. Something will be there to support me. I'm going to be very frank with here. People here, all right, in the UK, I realize, let's say, for example, you don't take care of your health, you get sick. Don't worry, I have NHS to support. We don't have free health services in Malaysia. You don't have money, that's a problem in Malaysia. You're not going to get, you can't afford to buy insurance, then you're not going to get the health services that you want, and you probably, I'm very unfortunate, have to figure out something. Yeah. So it's very different. So we resilience means we don't have time for mental health problems. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because it's like we don't have time to think. Yes, something happened, I get very disappointed, I get sad, I get depressed, but I'm not going to dwell on it. I remember when I was younger, if I get something happen and I get into a negative state, I tell myself, I'm going to give myself 3 days and I'm out of it for 3 days. And after I've done NLP, I tell myself, I'm just going to give myself 3 minutes and I'm out of it, So a lot of people, my grandma, I remember her saying, okay, you want to be angry, just be angry for a couple of hours, and after that, just get on with your life. Yeah. So it's generation handed down, and we over here, people are just, I'm trying to adjust. It's like, why should I just go and get it done? What's the complaint? What's the problem? I love BBC Morning Breakfast News because there's always someone complaining on TV, and I'm like, huh? Why? Just get on with it. There's a solution. I could easily see a solution, but why? Why people just want to talk about it, and then, it could be done very easily. Things could be solved very easily. Yeah.
So what do you? Come, sorry. After you.
No, I'm just interested to learn a bit more how NLP can help to build resilience, because that is something you talk about very often.
Because NLP,
this resilience.
right? Yeah. NLP number 1 is always forward-looking. So when we are coaching NLP, the story behind you doesn't matter at all. You can tell me whatever it is, I'm not listening. I've trained myself to let the client rant, right? But I don't care what happened to you. But what happened to you actually created the emotional state in you now, which keep on repeating, and created the mental state where it gets you to keep on thinking about it, that it might happen again. That's why people have anxiety, thinking they worry about the future. There's nothing there in the future, actually. But people don't focus on the present anymore, right? Because in the present is where you create the future. So people worry about it and they get emotional about it. What people don't have, I realize that people only have two emotions that they engage very, very, very often, very frequently, almost like every day. Guess what are the two?
Surprise us.
Fear.
Yes,
Could be
that's
one.
one of it. Yep. Every day, people will have some sort of fear. Why? Because you worry. What is worry? Is fearing something. Might be a little fear. Bigger fear will be anxiety. Bigger fear will be panic. You're worried about something, you're having some sort of fear. Something might not happen or not go the way that you want. What's the second emotion?
Go on.
Anger.
Anger.
Yeah. Because things not going your way, first thing you get irritated, you get frustrated. All these are tiny angers, angry emotions. But people actually don't feel depressed. You get
It's
what I'm
interesting you say.
saying?
Why is it you say that then?
Huh?
How is
Why?
it you say that?
You
How is it?
see,
I shouldn't say why,
because
but how is it you say
these
that?
two things, if things are not going their way, all right, they're afraid of things are not going their way, because every day you will make decisions. You will decide to do things. You decide to brush your teeth. You decide to drive the car. You decide to do things, right? But if, let's say you're going for a meeting, you've decided to go for a meeting on time, it doesn't go. But when you are getting to that meeting, before that, you have this little fear that you might be late, there might be a traffic jam, or your car won't start, or there's going to be ice on the road, snow, whatever it is. That's fear. And then if you made it on time, no problem. But if you have a shitty meeting, you get angry. You're not going to get depressed. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
If you dig really deeper into it, people, what is depression? People say sad, but why are you sad? You're literally angry with yourself.
Interesting.
What is, you get what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I feel that anger, people think they are not angry, but there are subtleties that underlying this anger, and it might come out differently.
Correct.
But still you are angry inside without realizing it.
Yes. It's very subtle, and people, you see, when people do coaching, I realize they address, as somebody comes to me, they say, oh, I have depression. I want to do something about it. I want to address the depression. I won't do anything about depression. I'll do something about anger. And usually they are angry about something that didn't happen in your life, or angry with someone who didn't keep their promises, or it's really not, I think depression, the word means your whole emotional state is depressed, it's just down. But what is causing that? It's for me, it's only two emotions: the fear and the anger, anxiety, and that underlying, what are you angry about? What is it that you do it? So I was aware. How I realized that is when I was a kid. As far as I know, I was very, very angry, throwing things around, slamming doors. Even when I was adult, I had my son. I remember I traumatized my son like crazy because I'll be throwing chairs. That was my kind of anger. But that, when I got to the NLP, when I realized where the anger is coming from, why that happens, is because Am I allowed to say anything in this podcast?
Absolutely.
It's my life. It's
I'd
me.
say.
It's me. It's me.
Can I,
It's me.
can I just say this isn't the BBC? You can say
Okay.
whatever you like, okay?
So it's me, because as a child I was how would I say, sexually I was molested by my mother's cousin repeatedly, right? As a child, I think I was 9 years old or 10 years old, but I didn't have a space where I could talk to my parents, because they're always, see the good and bad about it, they're always at work. My father worked 7 days, my mom worked 7 days. So, and I was afraid. It was like, was it my fault? Because usually the victim will think it's their fault, right? It's always that as a woman, as a girl, I would think it was my fault. But never did I know that, would I know that I have that anger in me, because I was angry that my mom wasn't there, my dad wasn't there, but it's not true they were there. It's just that myself, right? I was angry with myself. I could have done better. I could have exposed my mom's cousin and things, but which I did not. So all the things that I did not do, actually, I was actually angry with myself. And that anger manifested in different forms. It's like a tantrum. Every time I'm angry with little bits of things that's not right in my life. So it becomes building, it built up to become really, really huge. You know, emotions are like your muscles. If every day you lift weights with your left hand, you have a big muscle bicep with your left hand, and your right hand, right arm, if you don't do anything, it's going to be weak. So every time I get angry, and I will get angrier, because I can't control, until the point I cannot control my emotion, I'll start smashing things and tell you I'm not like this anymore. I'm the chillest person in town now. I literally, like, you know, those days I was explosive. I mean, my children, my son is 31 and my daughter is 28. We had difficult conversations a couple of years back when they tell us, you know, Mommy, you traumatized us. Now we have mental health problem. And I'm like, right. Being Asian parent, right? You know, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm so sorry that happens to you. And I will tell them, no, right, that was my life. I had to go through what I had to go through, and you know, you just happen to be there, you know. So it's something, especially, I don't know, Darren, if you did timeline therapy as well. Yeah. So timeline therapy is designed to get rid of 5 major emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Why is anger the first emotion? Because it is the most violent emotion. You can be harmful to yourself. When you're angry, you harm yourself. And when you are sad, when you're angry, you can also harm others. It's the most violent one. And we have to get rid of that, just in case, so that to safeguard the therapist, just in case. Yeah. So, and I realized I've done so many timeline therapy. I've done so many negative emotions. And I found that whenever I finish with anger, the rest are very minor, because the rest doesn't really matter anymore, because all the rest is like a subset of anger. I realized that. So if I do the anger properly, and I can find the root cause of it. So my root cause to my anger was my autism, because I wasn't able to communicate the way I communicate. I didn't have any friends in school. And I didn't understand why my dad was so strict with me. I guess because I was all over the place, you know, being autistic, we just couldn't communicate properly. And also things that happened in my childhood. So all this is built up anger. And that, would I say I have depression when I cried? No, I was actually angry with my boss. Why did he say I need to shoot myself? I was like,
for two people, yeah, for two
Yeah,
more.
for
Yeah.
two more, I
Yeah.
could have just
Yeah.
sponsored 2% and cheated on that. Yeah.
But timeline therapy is really
Oh, I
powerful, isn't
love
it?
it.
When it comes to it, you know, I can relate to it because one of the things for me was anger issues.
Mm.
You know, people say I had an anger issue. You know, I get angry. There's no issue, but you know, there is an issue to everybody else when it comes to that. For timeline therapy, for me, the biggest thing for me was shame. My root cause was shame.
Guilt.
It was the shame of losing temper in the first place, the shame
Oh,
of
yeah,
people
yeah.
seeing me lose my temper,
Mm.
people, my family, my friends making comments about me. So that once I got that, and through my breakthrough on my training, my coach said, you know, what do you think about shame now? And after timeline therapy, for that split second, I couldn't even spell the word.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
was just eradicated straight out of
Yeah.
my vocabulary. You know, there was a blank wall. I had no idea how to spell it just for that brief second. But it's how powerful timeline therapy is from that to be able to change how you. And when you, like you say, the biggest thing to do is to get over that first emotion. And then it's like the domino effect, isn't it? It
Yeah.
transforms then to
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
eradicate everything else that's around you.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember a friend of mine, she's passed on now from cancer. And she had spine cancer. So her C4, 5, and 6 here totally gone because of cancer. And she was paralyzed, like fully paralyzed. So her partner called me one day and said if I could help her because she seemed to be, she was a very successful woman. She's up and about, helping, did a lot of charity, helped a lot of people, made a lot of money as well. Imagine that you couldn't move anything at all, not even lift your hand or turn your head. Yeah. How would you feel? You feel very angry as well. So what happened is sorry, that was my husband sneaking
okay.
into the refrigerator. So she asked me if I could help her. So I went to see her and she had cancer. So I was like, oh gosh, that's a life-threatening disease. I did tell her, I said, I could help you get rid of your emotions because it's not good for you. And I'm Asian, so we believe in the universe, right? So I told her very frankly, I cannot help you. Don't be hopeful about healing your cancer because what I do doesn't do that. But what I can do is remove all these negative emotions so that if you die in peace, literally.
Mm.
So there's one thing in Asia, we are very open talking about death and sex. Over here is not. I don't know why. People are so close.
Subject.
Yeah, I know my husband, you sit at the table, dinner table, all my friends talking about sex, and he felt so uncomfortable because it's English. So he's like, what? So we talk about death as well. We understand from a kid, it's like when it doesn't matter. So, okay, back to my friend. So we did timeline therapy. Usually I will do the anger twice because the first time people are not so they're not going 100%. They want to hold back something. It's in their mind, they will hold it back. So I'll do it twice. And her biggest thing was anger, and then fear, hurt, and guilt. Guilt was really, really huge. Now, one of the things Bruce told me, I don't know whether, but I've been it's something for you to research and something for you to notice and something for you to take data. So I've been taking data ever since Bruce told me about it, is that cancer is caused by guilt.
Mm.
So I was like very surprised that in my suspicion was right because guilt was very, very major for her. You know, being gay in Malaysia is you're looked down by people. It's a Muslim country, right? It's now there's a law, it's illegal I don't know how people are going to maneuver towards that, around it. I have no idea. But yeah, so, and that was her biggest guilt, because she's not supposed to be like that. She wasn't supposed to be like that, but she was. So anyway, we got rid of everything. You know what's the miracle part of it? 7 days later, her physiotherapist sent me a message to tell me that she could move her hands and sit up for 15 seconds.
Wow.
Wow.
I was like, what? And I'm not talking about movement like that, but you know, she was paralyzed for a few months. She couldn't move her finger. Yeah, just move and sit up for 15 seconds. And that was like, wow, this is how powerful for me. I was like, wow, this is how powerful timeline therapy is, you know, at that point of time. So what's even more powerful, 2 weeks later, she called me up. She said, Stephanie, okay, now I want to get on with my life. I'm like, okay, you need to chill, you know, you need to, so no, I'm going to write my goal. I'm going to leave a legacy for my family. I'm going to build another business, blah, 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 blah. So resilience came back. Because it's not clouded by the anger. Why this happened to me? I helped so many people in my life. Why am I now, you know, in this way? You know, there's a lot of anger there as well. So she wrote her goal, and one of her goal was to actually, in fact, she healed so well that the doctor said, oh, we could do a surgery and put, you know, those, I'm not good with that, you know, those screws in your spine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to connect it back, and then she didn't die from the cancer. She died from the operation, the surgery. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I just don't understand. She was only 51. So the doctors told her it's only 10% risk because it's a very common thing, right? But she didn't come out from that surgery. And her partner didn't want to do a post-mortem. She said, just let her go. That's Asian. He said, what is done is done. Just accept it, move on. That's the resilience part, even for death. So she didn't want to know. She didn't want a post-mortem done. She said, she's already gone. Just let her go in peace. That's it, finish. I know over here, it'll be in BBC Morning News already. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So and she was such an inspiration for me because I was a coach. I wouldn't say coach. I mean, yeah, her timeline therapist, but she was her from the day I saw her the first day till the day she was writing her goal. It was just amazing. It was just like two different person. And that timeline therapy, it took me 4 hours to complete the timeline therapy. Yeah, because she has to be awake. She was on a lot of morphine. She has to be awake, and I have to like keep her awake. Yeah, so yeah, this is good. Timeline therapy, NLP combined. Hypnotherapy, I very seldom I use hypnotherapy, even though I like it myself for myself. So because it's so relaxing. But I find that I prefer the client to make an effort, not me sitting there 1 hour talking to you, you know, it's one way. I don't really like it. Yeah. Unless it's a very quick one just to seal in the changes and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of tying everything in, the NLP kind of breakdown of everything, the timeline therapy, really getting to the root cause, and then the hypnotherapy after just kind of, like you say, sinks in the learnings of everything that you've done.
Yes.
To them know, right, later on, I know where I need to go to. If I ever have one of those moments again, you know, I have those tools and techniques to be able to overcome that. And just like you say, the good thing about the one thing I totally agree with you with NLP is that it is a forward thinking kind of modality. It's always moving you forward. Yeah, you'll think about the past. It's been, you know, what could you have changed from there?
Yeah.
And that would be learning for what you're learning for future reference. And it is that forward process. Whereas I see, I won't mention it, but certain some or the other contexts, you are put in the past and you're kind of stuck there for a moment or quite a long time, and it's dragging up all the past. We don't want to be reminded of the past. We want to
Yeah.
be able to sort ourselves out and then moving forward. There's no point in the past. It's been, it's done, it's gone. We can learn from it, but it is that forward motion, like you say.
Well, remembering about the past, there's nothing wrong with it if you don't have an emotion attached to it. But a lot of people still have an emotion attached to the past. So when they remember the past or when they talk about the past, they get emotional. They get emotional. They go into tears, they get angry or whatever it is, they get emotional. But if you keep thinking about it or you keep talking about it again, it's with that attached emotion, guess what you're doing? You're exercising again, building that muscle.
You're hanging
again.
on to it, aren't you? You're constantly hanging on to that and
Yes.
not letting go.
Yes. It's like a lot of, how to say, I think the key is building resilience. It's like, really, yes, I do have these emotions. I still get angry. I still get all sorts of negative emotions. I'm human, right? But it's like, okay, I'm just like, is this going to support me? Is this going to serve me at this moment? No, I'm not talking about future. I'm not talking about the past. But right now, if I'm going to sit in this emotion, how is it going to help me in any way? It's not going to move me forward. So one question I ask, what can I do now? Or how can I do this differently? Just keep asking yourself that, how can I do this differently and what can I do now? The Dr. John DeMartini, he's actually very good. He's reframing from anything that's negative, there's always a positive, because our world is duality, black and white, yin and yang. That's our world. Short and tall. Without tall, you don't have short. Without cold, you don't have warm. Without light, you don't have darkness. So there's always duality. Whatever that happened in a person's life, if it's good, there's always a bad side to it. If it is bad, there's always a good side to it. But we, as human beings, we can only see one side because we've been trained from young. If something good, we always, okay, focus on the good. We don't see what's bad, what could be bad. Or if something bad happened, we're so focused on the bad, but we don't see the good side of it anymore. So it is Dr. DeMartini's breakthrough is fantastic. I went through it 5 days. It was like, wow, he literally watched him reframe a person's mind he's been in, he can't function for 9 years of his life because he felt that he's killed his friend. His friend died in the office because of an accident. He was supposed to check some machinery. He felt that he didn't check it enough, and that there was an accident and the friend died as a result of it. So for 9 years in his life, can you imagine the guilt you carry? Broke up his marriage. His wife was in the same training. They were not divorced, but they are not, So he couldn't function as a human being because he's always very down, very guilty, very angry, all sorts of things. And Dr. DeMartini got him to see the good side of things. What happened? What's the benefit of you, not of your friend dying? No, but if I ask anyone in this world who died from an accident, right? What is the benefit of him dying? People would think I need mental health help. Yeah, I have a problem, but there is none. So people will just focus on the positive or the negative, right? So what came out of it 1 hour later, I didn't know it was such a big deal. The government put in a law to safeguard people working in the industry in Australia. So the friend's death actually saved the life of hundreds of people. So he became a hero, actually. And he never saw that part of it. And immediately switched the reframing, the questions. Fantastic. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Again, another NLP technique.
Yeah. It's very funny. It's like somebody jumped off the bridge in River D here, jumped into the river and died, right? So there were a lot of flowers and things like that. And I'm like, oh gosh, not being bad, that's me. It's like, okay, funeral here, that's the first thing I realized. In Malaysia, from the moment you die to the funeral, everything is done in 3 days. We move on with life. Over here, you have to wait like 1-2 months before a funeral is done. So there were flowers on the bridge and people would, and I was thinking, why are people making him like a hero? He actually was high on drugs and he jumped off the bridge. Why are people making him like a hero? People literally were making him like a hero here for 2 months. I was like, he was really high on drugs. In the middle of winter, he took off all his clothes, running about on the street, and decided to jump off this because he was so high on drugs. They found the body and found a lot of substance in his body. So sometimes the way I behave, people might think that, oh, Stephanie, you're so cold. I'm not cold. You got to look at the other part as well, the other side as well. It's not just the good side and not just the bad side, but there is always a balance to see why. What's the root cause? And why did he take drugs? What's the root cause? Why did he get involved into drugs in the first place? Something must have happened in his family. And people will say, oh, no, it's his friends. No, it's always the family first. Because that's where the first programming of the mind comes from. Is it something that he cannot face in the family? Because self-harm is running away from situations that you cannot accept, or you cannot cope with. So you do self-harm because that's or situation that you cannot control. So you harm yourself because that's the only you yourself is you can control yourself. Same with anorexia people can control the eating. That's because they don't have control in their life somewhat, Yeah. So
yeah, it's a way of distracting also, to stuff down what you don't want to feel. Distract yourself. Yeah.
Yes. And it's always there is one event that happened in their life that caused them to have that, and it will sort of like a domino effect. So all their behaviors and everything will just follow to one side, might be the wrong side. Who knows? Yeah.
It brings us to the point, we have a little piece where we say our tipping point. So it sounds very much like that. Where's the tipping point for you to be able to change? I mean, what was the tipping point for you, if you don't mind me asking? Where did you see to the point of your life and go, right, things have to change now for me to be able to move forward?
My tipping point was, I can remember it was in 2003, and I decided, oh, I don't want to be this angry person. Why am I angry all the time? That's when I enrolled myself in a personal development training. It wasn't NLP, but they use NLP. I didn't know that, but it is in an experiential way. So I didn't learn the techniques. Only after I've learned NLP, then I realized, oh, okay, they have make it into a drama, So they've turned all the things into very dramatic way of helping people. Yeah, when I decided that I don't want to be angry anymore, because I think when you say shame, it sort of resonated with me because I'm just feeling ashamed and I'm shouting all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, my neighbors could hear me. But outside, I'm very nice, very well behaved.
Just don't give her
Yeah.
a chair. Just don't.
Yeah. And I really needed to do something. But the root cause was actually what happened to me when I was 9 years old.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that training helped me. I actually took the mic, went on stage and shared it with 198 people.
Wow.
Never told anyone that. Never told anyone that. Yeah. And then after that, I got my mom into the training for her to see what you did to me.
Well, I can only say a really big thank you for sharing that. It's a big thing to say. And the one thing we are finding on the podcast is that no matter how, or certainly some of the people that I've known for like over 20 years, and I'm finding things about them now. And that's what's helped them to change. It's that one traumatic, it might be just one traumatic incident that they've carried over for so long that they've got to the point where I need to be able to change. I need to have to change this now. And the tipping point for them is that. And then, but the key thing is that they've gone out and done something about it.
Yeah.
You know, you've carried this event for so long. You know, it's time to release it. You know, you
But
can't carry on with it to the end.
the key thing is, yes, making the decision to change is one thing, but I think you need to ask for help.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it was very difficult for me to ask for help. And I mean, during the pandemic, we were in lockdown for the longest time. We were in lockdown longer than anyone else in the world. And Malaysia is still almost in lockdown again because they're still counting COVID numbers. And I'm like, huh? They're still wearing masks. So still, seriously, still. And that's because of us. We take care of ourselves. We can't afford to die. That's what we Chinese say. We don't have time to die. That's our Chinese saying. We don't have time to die. We have to get on with our life. So during then, the pandemic, because we were locked in the house, and I had to close my business as well, my coaching business. I couldn't teach, I didn't want to teach online because the quality is not good. People don't experience it the way it's done fully, and I don't coach online because I can't really tell whether the person is authentic or not. It's very difficult to do it online. So I had anxiety. Seriously, I was worried. What am I going to do? And things like that. I did hire a coach. I hired one of John DeMartini's coach, and she's sitting in South Africa, Carla, in Cape Town, and we went on for 10 weeks. So that was not too long ago. So it's good to ask for help. I mean, it doesn't matter, because a lot of people say, if I hire a coach, I don't have the money to do it. But ask for, something people always say, nobody has money, nobody has the money to coach, for a coach. But if someone you love is in a hospital and is in need of a surgery and it costs you 100,000 pounds, people will find the money because it's important enough that someone. But no one say, I am important enough that I will do whatever it takes to find the money. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I did have a student. She couldn't afford my training. She came for my masterclass, like preview, and she couldn't afford it. She's a single mom with twins, and no one to support her. And 12 months later, she came really in front of me and said, I'm ready to do my training. I said, huh? I saved my money for 12 months so that I can make a change for myself. From being someone who's very poor with nothing and really struggling day to day, really, I almost refunded the money because I know what she was going through. Now she has her own business and is driving a big, shiny Mercedes. She took a picture and showed it to me. Stephanie, thank you for giving me the car. I said, no, I won't give you the car.
Yeah.
But I hope so. You did it yourself.
But you're right though. It's the first thing
Yeah.
people say is, you know, I can't afford it. But my response is how do you value your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, how valuable
themselves.
is your life? You know, you want to change. It's you that wants to change. It's you that's got the issue. How much do you value your life? You know, if you want to pay for something, you know, if you want to change, you've got to be able to put the effort in, and that costs to do that.
Yeah.
You know, money's money, but your life is worth a lot more than the money you're going to pay out.
There are always ways to find. I know there's a very young guy. I remember him. All these people are so inspiring that I remember them, right? He couldn't come into the training. He was an engineer, right? He didn't earn much. He's fresh from university, didn't earn much, and the training is expensive, right? So every morning I say, he came in the training finally. I asked him, how did you find the money? Oh, every morning I had a part-time job, car wash. He washes car before he goes to work for pennies, right? But he did it. He saved all the money washing other people's cars, and he got himself, and he changed. It's
also, I think people need to understand how much they gain, like in being feeling more free, feeling more happy, more confident, more positive, you know, and that has an impact on all the other things in your life, on your finances, on your relationships, on your health, on your well-being. So you can't even weigh it up in money versus money, you know, because what you gain is so much more than what you invest.
But the funny thing is, people are also afraid to look into their future. They're afraid because they're afraid they might not have it, or they're afraid they're failing as well. And they also probably have doubts whether they deserve things that they want. Yeah. So there's a fear of moving forward. Funnily, people we are all human. We like our comfort zone. I don't need to do anything. I just sit here and talk about my stories, and I get all the attention that I want. But if you move forward, you don't have any more stories to tell. You don't get any more attention, you know. But you can still tell the stories. You don't have the emotions. You don't have that kind of attention when you start crying and people give you that kind of attention. Yeah. So people are afraid of change. I realize that they are afraid. A lot of people are afraid. Which is quite sad.
You can always tell news stories, and news stories of change, and news stories of how you've got better.
Yeah. One of the things that I get them to write before I even collect any money from them is write. Tell me what kind of life you like. Everything. Tell me what is it that you want, the kind of person that you want to be with, the kind of person that you are, what kind of houses you want to. Okay, this is how cruel I was. Okay, I think I still am cruel. So I had a client. She had cancer, and she has become the inspiration in Malaysia now. Okay, before that she was like, I hate my mom. She gave me cancer, and I went like, huh? You know that cancer is not contagious, right? No, she gives me so much stress that I have cancer. So you know the victim blaming other people for yourself, you know, things that happen to yourself. So 2 things I told her: I will help you out. I can't cure your cancer, but I will help you through your treatment because you need to be strong. You said, oh, no, I want to live and all that. She kept on and on and on. I said, okay, you don't deserve to live unless you write me 25 pages. And I'm talking about this kind of notebook, right? 25 pages of why do you want to live until you're 65? She said 65. I don't know why she put a number to it, which is totally, I don't agree with any numbers because, you know, it's setting up your mind. But she was only 30 years old. I said, you don't finish the 25 pages, and I mean handwritten, normal, single line, don't try to enlarge your writing. 25 pages,
one letter, half a page
handwritten,
long.
yeah. Why you want to live? If you don't finish that, don't come see me. She said it was the most stressful time in her life because she had an appointment with me and she was still writing in the car. She did that. And then the next task I gave her every day, I want you to write without fail every day, one time in the morning and one time at night. I'm happy and grateful for my cancer. I'm happy and grateful that I heard the birds sing. I'm happy and grateful. I said, you must write every sentence, no bullet point, no shortcuts, nothing. You must write that. And she did that every day. And she actually came up with a video because she was spotted by this producer and they make a shot to create breast cancer awareness. And she was part of it. And she said, I have this friend. She didn't say coach. She has this friend who told me I must do this or else you cane me. The Chinese mother, we use the cane, okay? So it was quite funny. And she said they actually showed her writing that in the film. It was really beautiful. And yeah, it helped. Because if you complete these 25 pages of why you want to live, you don't come see me. That's the end of you, you know. She did that and she became an inspiration. She started a Facebook group for breast cancer survivors, for women only group. And people have henna, you know, drawings on their head because they've lost all their hair. And she became a billboard inspiration for insurance, life insurance, with her purple wig on.
Wow.
The first thing I said, did you collect a lot of money from this insurance company? Because they make a lot of money.
You should have put your prices up.
No, I actually didn't charge her anything. You know, she had cancer. So yeah. So yeah, she's doing very well now. It's been more than 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
completely.
Yeah.
Her baby is teenager now. He was just 2 months old, the baby. She had a new baby and she discovered she has breast cancer stage 4, I think stage 3 or 4, something like that. Quite bad. Yeah, it's whether it's back to it. It's really whether you want to change in your life or not. And people, a lot of people, see Halfacre. I went for his training. He's American. He has this to say: words are cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, words are cheap.
I heard that before.
Yeah. It's Brad Sugar, also one of my teachers in action coaching when I was in Las Vegas. They say action speaks louder than words. That's his tagline. And I truly believe that, because if you say you want to change, but you're not doing anything, or you're doing comfortable steps, you know, some people change, but it's like what I can do is not really stepping out of your comfort, you know, then there's not really a change. You're not gonna reach there because it's comfortable still. Yeah. They have to understand that change has to be uncomfortable. That's the real change.
That's when you grow.
Yes, it's like the rubber band, right? If you just pull it a little bit, you spring it back, nothing is going to happen. But if you keep pulling it and you let it go, the rubber band is not the shape anymore. It's in fact, it's bigger than before because it's been stretched. Yeah, people have to understand that change. And Darren, I talk about my past, what happened to me as a child, because I want to encourage women to come forward and talk about it. There are a lot of girls, things happen to them and they're not able to tell anyone, or they feel ashamed. It's nothing to do with them.
To be honest, I've spoken to a number of guys, and they've had the same kind of trauma You know, they've
Yeah.
had that. It's very similar, but they find they can't speak about it. And you're absolutely right. It is about taking that step to be able to be open and release that.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of stress they can take away
Right.
just by being honest and saying that. Obviously, you've got to speak to the right people at the right time. You know, not a lot of people, again, this comes from the stigma of things, is people won't listen to your problem, or they don't know what to say, but you know, you've got to just shutting up and listening. For
Yeah.
somebody to be able to open up and say that means a lot to them, to take away a lot of the stress that they're suffering.
Yeah. And to be honest, it didn't happen to me once. As an adult, I was literally raped. So
We have had
we
other
have,
guests on that
yeah,
said the same.
yeah, because you know why? If I don't address the thing as a child, it's going to repeat the same thing. We get on with the wrong person, and then you say no means no, right? But if they still insist, it's a rape. So that happened to me as an adult. So I didn't even realize it, you know, until I learned about it, and I said, oh, okay, because that was a very traumatic experience for me too. It was really traumatic. So I've worked with a lot of women as well, and I've heard all sorts. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm watching some TV shows, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, this is so mild. Things I've heard happen to people in real life. It's unimaginable. It's really unimaginable. And but they've come out on the other side. They've come out of it. Just to keep the story short, there's a girl, she was raped, and then she got pregnant. She got pregnant from the rape, but she decided to have the pregnancy. Guess what? When she was 7, 8 months, she bumped into the guy again in a building, in a stairwell. She recognized him, he recognized her, and this time, of course, she was pregnant, and they got into a fight, right? He pushed her down and she lost the baby. Can you imagine how much trauma it is with the same person? And I don't know why, but in this training, I kept looking at her, and at one point, our eyes just locked, and then she started breaking down. It's as if she got a message from me. It's like telepathy, you know. But and she, at the end of the training, she came and told me, I know what I need to do. Okay. And I didn't know what she was going to do, but the next day she told me she actually drove to that guy's house. She found out where he lived, and drove there. And she said to him, whatever, all the things that you have done to me, you know, you raped me, and you pushed me down the stairs. I almost lost my life. I lost my baby, but I forgive you. I went like, huh? You did that? She told me that, and she said, you know, Stephanie, it's the best thing that happened, because she couldn't have a relationship after, you know, after the rape, even though she just hated men, hated any human for, you know, it's just like she wanted to be alone. I could understand the thing that goes on inside her, you know. And she said, but she found that she had peace when she was able to say, I forgive you for all the things that you have done to me. And that was a change, because she could hold on to that story, hold on to the hatred for men, hold on to the belief that men cannot be trusted. She's now a married mother with 3 kids. Beautiful. Yeah. So, or she could, you know, at that point decided, no, I've decided to let go of this thing. This is just something that happened. I'm not going to blame myself. I'm not going to blame that guy. It's just something that happened, and I'm going to move forward. And she did. Of course, we did more work after that, but she did. So So it's as a coach, it's for me, it's really inspiring. I find my clients my inspiration. And I find my clients, I say, I need to do something better for myself and my life, because they are so inspirational. It is not just, as a coach, our trainer, it's not just like, I give you a training or I give you a coaching and off you go, but I am also learning something from them. And what I learn from them also is a legacy that they leave with me so that I can help other people as well. Because we are all humans. At some point of time, there's going to be some kind of similarity that people will go through in their life. Mistakes, they're the same kind of mistakes. It might be in different form, but it is the same mistakes in different form, manifested in different form. Yeah. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Stephanie, well, it's just, again, the good thing about these podcasts is how much people open up to us and share. And we've done a few now, and everyone is inspirational. I don't know, I can't speak for Alexandra, but they're certainly inspirational to me as well for what people have shared. These people I've known a long time, and they share things that I've never known. So, is an inspiration. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Last thing I can say is your 5 minutes of fame. If you want it, it's there for you. If you want to sell yourself to your client, to get clients, where to get you, how to get hold of you, we'll put that in the chat, in the comments after anyway. The floor's yours. It's entirely up to you.
Well, not really. Let me get to work in HSBC. Well, you know what? During my interview, they give me a case study, and she said, "What will you do?" And I used an NLP technique, and the interviewer was like, "Oh, I've never heard of anyone doing that before," And I said, the customer is angry. They're not going to listen to me. I've got to calm them down first. And I can't say calm down because they'll keep screaming on the line. That's the worst thing to say. But I will say something different. We call pattern breaking, and break them out of the pattern so that I can talk to them and give them the information that they need if they're in the right emotional state. And she was like, "Oh, what technique is this? What is this? I never heard of it." I say, "It's called neuro-linguistic programming." Maybe that's how I got the job.
I'm pretty sure you did. That's the way to do it. But Stephanie, thanks again.
Thank you very
It's really
much.
been great to have you, and finally, so to speak, meet you. I'm sure we'll get to see some, face to face at some point.
Yeah.
But good luck with the new job. Good luck with the driving. Please stay off my road. Don't come near me. I mean that nicely.
I'm wearing the white belt again, and I'm a learner driver, okay? After 40 years of driving.
Arts, that's where it comes from.
Yes.
So finally, let's say so. It's just a thank you from me, and thank you for everybody listening and watching the podcast. We'd like to say thanks to all our supporters as usual. Promo Doodle, the Professional Bodyguard Association, the Burnley and District Motorcycle Group, and Mira Cavasio, who done some freelance virtual work for us. Alexandra, yourself, anything that you can think of from today? Because I'm just blown away at the moment.
Oh, I'm just I just want to reiterate how important it is to seek for help, and that there's nothing wrong about it, asking for help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. So if you are struggling, really reach out to anyone in your network or to someone you trust and say, I need support. That's my message for today.
And a very valuable one. And if you do want to get in touch, you've got our, there's myself, there's Alexandra, we've got our other guests on who will all have their details on how to get hold of us as well. And please like, share, comment, All the good comments we'll keep on. All the bad ones will hide. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. We don't mind bad comments as well, because this is where we learn as well. So all the comments and likes and shares, please, we'll have our donation pages, which is to help set up our retreat and training center for men with mental health. And, again, thank you for everybody for our support and our guests. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.